Hello and what's up? Hope everyone's surviving and doing really well in this terrible virus that's sweeping the nation. But while you're at home and doing nothing else, how about we do a little bit of coding? What we're going to do today is look at the TCP client. We're going to connect that to a TCP listener that we set up, and then eventually down the track in another video, we're going to slowly build a simple internet chat room. So it's all pretty cool. If you want to just watch a really quick summary of the video, that's straight up, or stick around if you actually want to see how I progressed and got to the solution that you're about to see. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and have a really good one. The first thing I did was create a TCP listener and start up a new task which handles new TCP clients. In handle TCP client async, I create a stream writer and write to the stream. Make sure to flush in order to send the data back to the client. The TCP client then connects to the TCP listener and uses a stream reader to read all the data from the stream. And it's as simple as that.
1, 2, 3.
The first thing I did was create a new test project. This is just so I can quickly and easily chuck my code into a unit test just to demonstrate it for the video. And then I wrote a new test class with a test method named in the schema of what I'm doing, underscore my input, underscore my expected outcome. I realize now instead of download stream, I should have named it something like download stream as string, because that would make more sense. But you know, what are you gonna do? And then I created a TCP listener, and this uses a constructor which takes a port. I chose port 1337 because it's elite. Then you just start the listener. Then I just browsed IntelliSense for the listener just to see what sort of methods I had to deal with. And I found the method I was looking for, accept TCP client. So I was thinking here, what you're gonna need is to always be accepting new clients. Otherwise it'll only be able to accept one client at a time. So instead of just doing accept TCP client once, I wrapped it in a while loop. And instead of doing while true, I did while a cancellation token isn't cancelled. This is so later on if I want to expand on this, I've already got code in here to pretty much cancel my listener. As I go through, I just clean up and add comments, and just to make it a bit easier for me when I look back on it next time. I create a new method called handle TCP client. What I want from this method is just when a TCP client connects, I pass them into this method, and then that method handles them for the duration of their lifetime. You can see that I used an obsolete TCP listener constructor. So instead I opted to use one that isn't obsolete. Using IPaddress.any means that if someone, a client, tries to connect to me and uses localhost instead of the IP address that I'd actually bound to, it'll still work regardless. So what I'm doing with the TCP listener doesn't block the rest of the test or the rest of the execution of the code. I wrapped it in a task, which means it's just going to run in the background. Now I've set up the TCP listener, it was time to create a client to connect to it. So I create a new client, and I ask that client to connect to the TCP listener. Make sure to use using, as the TCP client implements iDisposable. I've made a mistake here by connecting to IPaddress.any, as a TCP client needs a specific IP address. I start to add a few comments just as I go through. It is good practice to add comments as you go through your code rather than coming all the way back and having forgotten why your code does what it does. It's good to comment mainly when something is unclear from the code itself. You don't want to write full-on, fictional fantasy stories about zombies in the story because no one's going to fucking read it. What I'm writing now is so when the TCP client is connected to my TCP listener, it's going to grab the client stream, and then through that stream it's going to write, using a stream writer, yo dog, what's up? Generally, streams work by you write some data into them and then you have to flush the data straight back down the stream to actually have the other end of the stream receive it. So I flush that data down the stream, and by basically doing the same thing with the TCP client of my connecting client, I get its stream, I wrap that stream in a stream reader, and then I read what the TCP listener has sent to me by calling read to end. And since I'm actually creating a unit test, I want to assert that the message I've received is equal to the message that I sent through TCP listener. One of my absolute favorite things about testing with this framework is all you have to do is right click and go debug tests. As I step through the code, as I mentioned earlier, I find the mistake. My TCP client is trying to connect to IP-address.any. So instead of connecting to IP-address.any, we're going to connect to IP-address.loopback. And that basically means localhost. As you can see now, after fixing that up, I can happily step over it and through it. And stepping over get message hits my breakpoint for my TCP listener. And I can see that it's going to write to the stream and then flush it. And then once I hit go again, you'll see the message piped through is almost what we're expecting. I have to go back and just change write line to just write because I'm too lazy to change anything else. And now you can see if I run the test again, everything completes successfully. And the cool thing about the Test Explorer as well is you get a little visual representation of your complete tests with a nice green tick. And don't we all love green as fuck ticks? And that's it for today. Thanks guys. See you next time.